but we have all, I think as women, we've all sat across from something like that. I was like, "Oh, yeah, like, 100%." Like, that has happened to me. Like, where, like, some dude has been like, "Blah," and, like, spouting off some shit about whatever, and they're like, and of course, that's, like, a caricature, but, like, but it is, like, that same thing where they're just like and you kinda just are like, "What the fuck are you saying, dude?"
Hello, audience. Welcome back to Core Memory, a podcast about movies. I'm your host, Cortney Warner, and this week, I'm so stoked. Your guest this week is an absolutely hilarious comedian and actress, and is all around Jack and Jill of all trades. Please welcome to the podcast. It's AJ Jacobs. Yay!
Woo! Yay!
Yay,
Hey,
AJ.
Courtney.
Oh my goodness. Hey, AJ. Thank you for being here. How are you?
I'm doing great. I am so pumped to be here, like, and I've been, like, saying that all week, like, on social media, um, just because I've been listening to the first few episodes, and even when you were talking about this podcast, like, when it was in its nascent stage of being,
Yeah.
like, just a seed, just an idea, when you were like, "I'm gonna start a podcast," but it's not just gonna be, like, a podcast where we talk, it's gonna be specifically about movies and movie memory, and, like,
Yeah.
and I movies are such a big part of my life,
Mhm.
and just listening to the previous episodes and reflecting on the movies that we're gonna talk about and just, like, movies in my life,
Yeah.
it's just been I'm just, like, overjoyed. Movies are, like
Yay.
movies and TV and television also being of the age and, like, sort of generation that I am, like, it's it's so important to me, and
Mhm.
it is such a huge part of my life, and I don't know, it's like I was going through, I realized how big of a part of my life it was until, like, now that I'm reflecting on it, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, this is, like, huge for me." Like, it's so, like, pivotal in a way.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm just, like, pumped to be here.
I'm so pumped you're here too, and thank you for listening to the first couple episodes. I'm just curious, did you have a favorite our favorite episode that stuck out to you so far out of like the 3 that are out?
Well, I have to be honest, I didn't listen to all of them.
Yeah. Oh,
I
don't
did
worry.
listen to
Yeah.
yours,
Mhm.
which which was, like, great just to, like, kinda hear the intro and, like, get a vibe of, like, where you were going with this, and then I listened to the one with Drew Harrison,
Oh yeah, we love
which was
Drew.
great, but I do have thoughts because I was listening to it and I was like, I sort of feel a little bit of the opposite that he feels."
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I feel a little bit like the opposite of the way that he feels, like he was like, "There's no good content coming out now." And I
Yeah.
agree that there is too much content right now, but I think there
Mhm.
are some really great if you search and you
Mhm.
really there are some great and one of the movies we're gonna talk about today is like a very recent,
Yes.
um it's a very recent film. So, I think there are some really great pieces to that are coming out now. You just have to really, kind of, pick through the noise. Yeah, it was just really cool to hear, like, what shaped what shaped his childhood and, like, his memories and, how baseball plays I know he's a big baseball guy, and so, like,
Yeah.
obviously those movies, and Dazed and Confused is also one of my favorite movies. And
Oh,
Angels in the
yeah.
Outfield, I'm a huge baseball movie, like, The
Yeah.
Natural was, like, a
Mm.
huge movie in my house growing up, and, like, my dad's a huge baseball guy, but I've actually never seen Angels in the Outfield. Like, of course, Sandlot, huge,
Yeah.
The Natural, huge, Major League, huge, but I'd never seen Angels in the Outfield, but his other movie, Dazed and Confused, was, cou that's, like, a classic,
Oh, yeah.
soundtrack, movie, done, but it's always good to hear, other people's perspective on it.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
so, um, yeah. So I just
Yay.
listened to those 2, and I started listening, I think, to Cam Gumpy's,
Mhm.
and then, obviously life happened and I had to, I haven't finished yet, but
Yeah.
but I'm a subscriber, I'm a listener. It's
Thank
it's it's in
you.
the it's in the queue, it's
I
there, I love
I
it.
I appreciate it. No, and yeah, I agree with you. I love getting to hear other people's perspectives on movies and how they shape them and like why they're important because a big part of why I started doing this podcast too is because I like getting to either rewatch or watch movies I haven't seen before that impact my friends and people that I respect and care about. So I feel you on that. It's been awesome. So
Yeah.
well, yay. Well, audience, this week, AJ brought us 2 movies. She brought us Beetlejuice, the original Beetlejuice, and The Substance. So definitely perfect for this is the Halloween episode. It'll be coming out on October 31st. So it's absolutely perfect given both of these movies. And let's just jump right in with Beetlejuice. Audience, I'll give some stats here real quick. So Beetlejuice came out in 1988, directed by Tim Burton, famously, and starring Gina Davis, Alec Baldwin, Winona Ryder, and of course Michael Keaton, who was famously only in it for like 15 minutes, but yet is like the title character. Isn't that crazy? He only had like 15 minutes of screen time in the whole movie, and he's Beetlejuice. But yeah, that's a little fun fact that I
That's
had.
interesting. Yeah, I mean, okay,
Right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh,
Um,
man.
yeah, it's really
Okay.
cool. It's just like it's just very telling about how good the writing is and stuff, you know.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
AJ, can you tell me about the first time you saw this movie?
Yeah, absolutely. So, a core memory for sure. So, like I said, movies were huge in my house. I was born in the year 1981, so I'm in that weird generation. Like, I guess I am a millennial, but there's this, like,
Mhm.
weird generation that they say between, like, I think 1978 or 79 and, like, 1983, where we're, like, this sort of, like, mismatched generation. Like, we didn't grow up with cell phones, but like, we're not digital natives, but we also are, like, part of a digital generation. We're the sort of, like, lost generation. So if that gives you any, sense of like, I'm about to turn 45, okay, etc. And yeah, so I had like great 80s and 90s television. But I'm also like, I do think I like enjoy pop culture. I'm not like a super into pop culture, but I definitely pay attention to things. And I think I try to keep up with like a lot of what's going on. So all that to say, movies were very big in my house. Movies like The Goonies, not necessarily Disney movies or like kid movies, also TV. Pee Wee Herman was huge. I watched Pee Wee Herman, like, religiously. That was my favorite, favorite, favorite show. Um, and so I the first movie I ever saw in the theaters, and I don't know why, was the year before this came out. So 1987, my parents took us to see La Bamba, the
Okay.
Richie Valens story, which and
Yeah.
I was so 19 I was 6 years old. I don't know what my parents were thinking take and, like, that's a very and but I don't have, like I have very, like, cut memories of that movie. So that's not, like, a core memory for me. But then the next year, they took us to see Beetlejuice, and, like, that was, like, the first movie I remember, like, seeing because it's, like, such a vivid movie, and, like, the scenes in it are, like, incredible, like and it's a little it's not it's interesting because it's about death, but it's not scary. It's, like,
Mhm.
um, it portrays death in a way that's, like, almost there's, like, a little bit of, like, dark comedy there too,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of underlying themes. Of course, being 7 years old, I definitely did not, get those underlying themes, but I was for sure entertained, and especially as it takes you through, there's also, like, the dancing and the music
Yeah.
and Tim and that was, like, one of Tim you talked a lot about in when you had your podcast about, like, these sort of, like, earlier films of
Yeah.
directors that have done a lot, and that was a lot of Beetlejuice was, like, early Tim Burton, early for some of these actors,
Mhm.
some of their early films, and so, yeah, so, so that was, like, a very core memory. I remember sitting in the theaters, and I remember being like, "Why are my parents taking me to see this?" Like, I just like, the name was weird, and there was probably some other movie I wanted to see, but
Right.
then I have a very vivid memory of seeing this, and it's consistently been one of my favorite movies, and,
Mhm.
over the weekend, I watched it with my daughter who's 10, and, we can play those songs on repeat, and I'm
Yeah.
always seeing something new in the movie, and I just can't say it's just it's a favorite. It's, like, top
Yeah.
5 movie for sure. It never gets old. And anytime, like, any of those Harry Belafonte songs come on,
Mm.
we just, like, jam out.
Yeah.
Um, and I think just Catherine O'Hara in that movie, like, every time, I love her. Like, she
Yeah.
stands up during the when, like, Deo, and her
Mhm.
face, the look on her face, I'm like, I wanna be like that expressive,
Yes.
like that dancing scene,
Mhm.
that's the name like a more perfect scene in a movie, that
I
dancing
know.
scene. It's like, come on. So yeah, I can't say enough about Beetlejuice. I will say the second one that recently came out, not as good. Not
No,
as
it's not. I
it's
was
not
excited for it. I was hopeful.
yeah, it's just, of course,
Yeah.
I saw it in the theaters. I have a
Mhm.
thing about going to movies in the theaters also, and we could
Oh,
talk about
yeah.
that too, 100%. But no, no, no. But the OG
I
Beetlejuice, yeah.
it's like almost a perfect movie in my opinion. I just think it's so well done. I think no character is wasted, no line of dialogue is wasted. It's like kind of a it's they kind of get you in and out, it's not that long of a movie, but they pack a lot in there. There's a lot that they cover with like death and then this family moves in and that, and then it's like then there's
Yes.
Beetlejuice and it's just like I don't know, like, I think that directors early on, when they don't have full creative control, like, you think about, like, Taxi Driver with Martin Scorsese, like, that should not that movie could never be 3 hours long like he makes his movies now, you know? And I think with
Mhm.
Tim Burton had the reins kinda pulled in on him a little bit, which I think he had to be creative in a small space, and I think he just really was like, "I have so much to prove, I'm just giving it my all," and I think that's about how we
Yeah,
got Beetlejuice, honestly, and it's just so I think it's incredible. I think it's an
yeah.
incredible movie.
And it doesn't insult anybody, right? Like, it doesn't
No.
insult intelligence. Like, my child who's 10 years old growing up in the year 2025 also enjoys this movie that's came out in
Yeah.
1988. Like, no, like, not the same technology that we have today, but,
Mhm.
even the sandworm, like, is not an insult
Yeah,
to her who's used to seeing, like, all the things that we see today with
for
graphics,
sure.
et cetera. I also wanna say another one of my favorite characters is Otho.
Mhm. Oh, yes.
I'm like and his story is very tragic. I think that was one of the because of course I've, like,
Yeah.
Googled all these people every time I watch it. Um, I think he that was, like, one of the only movies he did, and I think he, like, died very early,
Yeah.
like, shortly
Yeah.
after that, but anyway, and that whole dynamic, yeah, it just yeah, it is yeah, it's a
It's a
it's a great it's just great.
it's great. I'm curious. So I love it. No, that is such I love hearing people be so passionate about these things, and you have a lot of passion for Beetlejuice, and I love that you showed it to your daughter. I think, I've had a lot of friends on here who have children, and what I always ask, like, have you shown them the first movie that you ever remember? Some of the second ones are not always appropriate for kids, like, I don't think she needs to watch a Substance anytime soon.
No, not yet,
But I
no,
but I lo
someday.
but I love asking my friends who have kids on this podcast, have they shown their kids the first movie they remember seeing, and it's so fun to hear everyone be like it's like they get to experience it, like, in a different way through their kids' eyes, and like, "Oh, this is what I watched when I was a kid," and when they enjoy it too, it seems to be really, really special and cool.
Yeah, definitely. It's really fun to see them enjoy it as much as I do, and then listening to the music. And when we did watch it this weekend, and we've seen it before, like, it's
Yeah.
definitely, like, it's spooky season, so, we are movie people, so we'll watch, Hocus Pocus and then
Mhm.
Hocus Pocus 2, and, there's all in the rotation, and then we'll start to get into the holiday movies and et cetera. It's just that time of
Yeah.
year. So
Oh,
we did
yeah.
this weekend watch Beetlejuice and then Beetlejuice, the second one,
Mhm.
and watching them in a row, I just that second one comes on and I'm watching it and I'm like, "Oh lordy."
I
But it
know, I know.
but it's good to see, they look, it's well cast,
Yeah.
um, and, the band mostly gets back together, um,
Mhm.
but, and of course all the young kids love it because Wednesday's in it,
Of
um,
course, Jenna Ortega, she is a legend amongst the young kids.
you get her in anything and the kids are gonna watch it, um,
Yeah.
and yeah, so but it's just, it's entertaining
Uh-huh.
and, just like the writing, and it's hard to like, hit that mark that they hit.
I agree. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It
it's just something that, like, it is just, like, one of those things where it's kinda felt like probably felt for all of them like lightning in a bottle, I would assume, because I think that was probably Winona Ryder's first movie or one of her first movies. And, like, just, like, really it was, like, I remember reading something about how this was, like, a star-turning movie for Michael Keaton, like, every other actor wanted their own Beetlejuice movie, like, like, I remember reading, like, Monkey Bone for Brendan Fraser, that was supposed to be his Beetlejuice, and it didn't really work out that way for him, but every actor after Beetlejuice is like, I want
Mhm.
that for me." So they all wanted some iteration of Beetlejuice for them, to do this crazy iconic character, and so that kinda set it off as, like, that was, like, a thing that was, like, people tried to keep making it happen in Hollywood, and they just couldn't make it like that because I don't think any of them set out to be like, "I'm gonna make this is gonna be the biggest movie of my life," or whatever, they just were they were telling a good story.
Well, and you have to be original. You can't be like,
Right,
"I wanna be the next Be" you have to be like, "I'm gonna be my
right,
own, I'm gonna go on this pathway and be my own character and develop in my
right.
own way." So we all know that, like, anytime you're chasing someone else, it's never gonna turn out the way you want it to,
Yeah,
I don't think. But
agreed.
I love that you said that Michael Keaton is only in the movie for 15 minutes because as I'm, like,
Mhm.
running through the scenes, I'm like, "You're" like, you're right, they're
Yeah,
very, like, short and punchy,
yeah.
and it's wow. That blew my mind, but then I'm like, I'm
Mhm.
like, "Okay, okay," because he's really not in the movie for, like
Not for the
he
first
doesn't come
hour, I feel like, yeah,
No, no, I mean, he really comes up quite late into the movie.
Yeah,
Um, so, yeah, that's so funny, but he is so I mean, first of all, he's the title character, but
yeah.
he just, like, nails it, and he is, another one he's in one of my other favorite movies is this very random movie called Dream Team about
Oh, I know
4,
it.
do you know
Yeah.
Dream
Yeah, I know that movie.
That's I think that's a deep cut. I don't know. Is it a deep
Yeah.
cut or, like, is it just crazy people like us who, like, love that movie? Anyway,
I
and
think
he's
it
in
could be
that
a deep
one.
cut, yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, he's just one of those guys who, like I guess he was in Birdman, right? And that is that what he
Mhm,
won
yeah.
a big award for? Oh,
He
yeah.
won the O yeah, he
Um,
won the Oscar for
yeah.
that, and yeah, that movie won Best Picture and all that. That was, like
Yes,
but also
yes,
he was in
yes.
Batman, he was in Jack Frost, which I'm
Right,
very familiar with.
right,
So he
right.
did a lotta he did a lot of
Yeah,
really good
he's
character work, I think, after
yeah,
Beetlejuice, you know?
he's a good one. But
Yeah.
one of my favorite lines of his in, in Dream Team was when he, like, rips out the page from the
Mm.
phone book, and he's like, "Public property, private property," and he just, like it's just, like I just, like, crack up.
It's
I,
so
like, do that a
funny.
lot in
Yes.
my life now. I'm like, "Public property, private property."
"It's mine now, bitch."
Exactly. Yeah,
Um,
he's great, but,
he
yeah,
is.
man, 15 minutes. Dang.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy because it really is a story about, Winona Lydia and, like, her it's, like, Lydia, but then also the couple that died, like, it is, like, them it's those 3, they're, like, the stars of the movie, I feel like, once you, like, really watch it and, like, rewatch it again, you're just like, "Oh, this is their story," but then Beetlejuice
Mhm.
pops up at the very end in a moment of desperation from all of them, and
Yeah.
then he just steals the whole show, and yeah, like, 15 minutes, but
Right.
nothing with him was wasted. I think something that's to be said too is that the lore and the anticipation was built up around him enough, you know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
it's like he's
Yeah.
he's looming in the whole movie. He's
Mhm.
present in the whole movie, but you don't see him. And then just the payoff is just incredible, you
Right.
know?
And Juno, she's like, "Don't,"
Yeah. Yeah.
and she's such a good, like, small
Mhm.
character. There was this other movie that I used to watch a ton growing up, maybe you've seen it, there was this Alice Through the Looking Glass.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
like a made for TV movie that was, like,
Mhm.
with this Jabberwocky character that was, like, so scary, but that had, like, this crazy cast of characters, so she was the White Queen in that
Yeah.
movie, and so she just is like, "Don't call Beetlejuice," and they're like, "Oh, okay." And then,
Yeah. Or
and then so that whole dynamic also was like I was like, "Oh, Juno."
yeah.
She's like, "You don't know what you're doing as dead people?" Like, the
Yeah,
whole thing,
yes.
like and they're
So
like
funny. It's
yeah.
like, you don't know
They're
how to
like,
be
"No."
scary? Like, come on,
Yeah, "Get them out of the house."
Yes.
So
So how did do you think, Beetlejuice impacted you as a kid? Like, how did your imagination or, like, how did it shape you when you saw it and, like, carry you through childhood?
yeah, well, I think, like I said, early on when we started this out, you know, shows like PB Herman and I watched the
Mhm.
Three Stooges growing up, like, I really loved, like, slapstick,
Mhm.
weird, kinda like, I don't know, maybe, like, out there. Seeing Beetlejuice, you're just like, "Who are these characters? What is this movie?" You've got the supernatural, ghosts. So I think that just, and a lot of, like, the deeper meaning stuff was very much over my head. It was more just, like, the
Yeah.
entertainment value of the ghosts versus the living people in the house, and then you have the Lydia character, and she's very like, "Oh, you can see ghosts," like the kid, the child has the power and
Mhm.
the openness to be able to see the ghost and be that sort of go-between, between, like, these, New York adults who are like, "Oh, Lydia, go get your ghost friends," and she's like, "They
Yeah.
don't this isn't a joke."
Yeah.
Um, and I think a little bit of that you see when you're a kid where you're like, "Hey, sometimes, like, stuff's not a joke."
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but, and then as you get older and you start watching that, that stuff hits even harder. And
Mhm.
I you know, I'm definitely an adult in the world, but I
Yeah.
have a sensitivity towards kids, and I just, towards, like, a youthful playfulness.
Mhm.
I think as I grew up, I tried to, like, tamp that down, but I was a very, very goofy child, and it was often, like, you talked about when you did your Mrs. Doubtfire thing, when when you try to do the, "Oh, hello," during Thanksgiving, and
Yeah,
everybody
yeah,
was like, "What's Courtney doing?" Like, that was a
yeah.
lot. I would do, like, weird things, like, anytime there was a gathering or there were people around, I was like, "Oh, it's an audience, right, so what am I gonna how do I entertain these people?" And I think they were like,
Right.
"What are you doing?" You know?
Right.
Like, "Why this isn't like, we're just having, like, a family gathering. Why are you, like, this isn't, like, entertainment time or whatever." It
Right.
was so I think, yeah, as a kid, I think something like that was, like, very much escapism.
Mhm.
You could just go into to movies, especially, one like Beetlejuice was one I would come back to for sure, to just be, like, entertained and be, like, in it. Um and then every time I watch it, I'm like, it's just, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just, I just see something new. This time when I watched it, I actually saw so much foreshadowing,
Mhm,
um,
yeah.
where, like, I never, because I was watching it more now for, like, for a conversation about it. So I
More
was like,
critically, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I was like, "Oh, Harry Belafonte is playing in the beginning, like, just on a
Yeah.
radio in the house as they're,
Mhm.
as the Maitlands are talking about just redoing things, and,
Yeah.
like, redoing their house, and then also making the connection that, like, the Maitlands were working on the house. Like, they were like, "We bought this old house and we're gonna renovate it." And they were putting love into the house. And then, Delia Deetz comes in and she's like, "We need to change everything."
Yeah.
And it's like, "Oh, shit," like, the Maitlands were putting all this work into it and this love into this home that they bought, and these, city people are coming in and they're just, like, changing the whole thing, and then when they bring her artwork in and
Oh god.
the construction people, and it pins her against the house, that's
Yeah.
also foreshadowing to when the art comes to life,
Mhm.
like, I
Mhm.
mean, there were so many things where I was like, "Oh, man, like, that's brilliant," and, like,
Yeah.
when you see the movie for the first time, you don't notice it, and even probably, like, 2nd, 3rd time, you're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
paying attention to those details. So, um, as a kid, you're just I don't think I think it does not I would not get bored of that movie
Yeah. It's just
at
so
all.
bright it's bright and colorful, it moves at a good pace, but also, like, yeah, it's so well done, like, the foreshadowing, the storytelling, like, the use of the characters, like, it definitely is like a family movie, I would say, definitely like so but it doesn't yeah, like you said, it doesn't insult anyone's intelligence, it's for everyone. Do you think that Beetlejuice seeing it do you because I know you've done some acting, you did some acting in college and stuff, do you think that inspired you to wanna act and kind of play in that world, or is there another movie that kinda inspired you to wanna do that? Because I feel like there's always a movie or early on, you're like, I wanna be
Yeah.
on the TV," you know?
I mean, yeah, for me, it's a lot, like, like, more stage. Like, anytime I go to a
Mhm.
Broadway musical, I'd be like, "How do I do that?"
Yeah.
But I mean, also, like, yeah, anytime you see a movie, you're like, "Oh, I would wanna," like, a character like Delia Deetz, like, I see Catherine O'Hara,
Oh,
and I'm like,
yeah.
I wanna, like," and then she started doing all the Christopher Guest movies, and she was the mom in
Mm.
Home Alone, like, I'm just like, she's just like,
Yeah.
you know, but I just I love her. I mean, I love,
Yeah.
Winona Ryder, and then, she did Edward Scissorhands and so many other movies
Mhm.
that she's, like, so great in. Um, but, Gina Davis also. I mean, Gina Davis's
Oh,
character in
yeah.
this movie, I think her and Alec Baldwin, like, they're great and their characters are
Yeah.
great, for sure. But, I think Lydia and Delia just,
Mhm.
for me, and Otho, like, they're just, like,
Yes.
that, like, overplayed dynamic is just, like, so, it just always gets me. I'm just like, Delia Deetz and
I
Otho, and just
know.
like just like their whole shtick.
Yeah.
And I just wonder how much of it was written and how much they,
Improvise, yeah.
yeah, they improvised. I'm sure they just, like, had a blast on set.
Oh, no
Yeah,
doubt.
so I'm sure, like, everything I saw, I was just like, "Ho yeah, how do I do that? How do I get to
Right.
be doing that?" Um, I think I also am one of those people who, for so much of my life, I was like, "Well, I probably can't, like, that's not for me," which is, like,
Yeah.
probably sad to admit, but I think
Mhm.
I'm comfortable admitting that now, given that I'm, you know, going after things that I want, so
Right, right. It takes, like, what is it? Oh my God. I think it's maybe John Coltrane or someone. Miles Davis says it takes a
yeah,
long time to play like yourself, to learn how to play like yourself, and in regards to music. And I think that's the same
yeah.
thing where and I think Ira Glass talks about this too. Sorry to like reference, like, my name drop all these people. Yes, I do like to read and listen to good things, but like, sorry,
No,
but
no, no,
Ira
let's
Glass.
go, I love Ira.
Ira was like, there's like that kind of like that gap between you have good taste, you enjoy art, but you as an artist are not there yet. You don't create that caliber of art
Yeah,
yet. So it's that weird gap is very frustrating to live in. So I think a lot of times people know what they want to do and they appreciate it, but like, but they it almost like they stop themselves. Like, oh, I can't do that because I'm not whatever. And and it is kind of, I have been the same way too on different things, but like this podcast for a while, and honestly it took me a long time to get this off the ground. But I think that, the fact that you are living your life to the fullest now, and like you kind of can reflect on that, it didn't hold you back, is I think is really beautiful.
for sure, for sure. Um, and the other thing I'll say is the ending, like, I love how it ends. Sometimes things
Oh,
end
the
and you're like, "Oh."
dancing, yeah.
But, like, with, like, everybody kind of coexisting, but not in, like, in an
Mhm.
annoying, cheesy way, but in, like, a
Yeah.
way that feels good for everybody, and even the house goes back seemingly to the way it was,
Mhm.
and, Lydia and the world between the living and the dead, and it kind
Mhm.
of makes death feel like not this, like, scary, weird thing, but this
Yeah.
it's like death doesn't have to be negative or scary, it can just be like the
Right.
next world that we go to, even though they make the underworld look a little, like, nutso with, like, how they portray, like,
Ugh,
you walk around, like,
yeah.
severed in half or whatever, you
Yeah, yeah.
are
See, for me, what was scary, that was most scary, was it felt like they're going to the DMV. You know what I mean?
yeah.
That's why I was like, "Oh, I don't think I mean, yeah, severed in half, shrunken head,
Yeah,
don't care.
the
DMV,
shrunken head.
absolutely not."
Yeah, yeah, but I loved how playful the underworld was, and that's, like, where,
Yeah.
the real Tim Burton, stuff comes out where,
Mhm.
he just, like, oh, all those characters just, that whole scene, you're like, that was it's just like and I don't wanna say a dream, but it's hard to picture the underworld, and then when someone can bring that to life,
I
you're like,
know.
"Oh, that's what I would think it would be like." The DMV, kinda miserable, but also
Yeah.
a little funny
It's very
and
lively.
goofy.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. People might be weird colors,
Mhm.
you're kinda like how you died, like, you're a little mangled, but you
Yeah.
kinda still are yourself in a way. So
Yeah, and I think Tim Burton, like, I know a lot of his movies, like, I'm thinking specifically about, like, Corpse Bride, Nightmare Before Christmas, like, a lot of them, they
Yep.
do deal with, like, the afterlife and what death is like, and it's always portrayed as much more lively because people seem like they're themselves finally, versus, like,
Mhm.
Earth is very, like, being, like, on the living side is, like, very, like, restricted, and, like, you have strict parents, or you, like, are being forced to marry, like, in Corpse Bride, I'm thinking, like, "Oh, yeah, you're being forced to marry someone, whatever," and then, like, you go to the underworld, and it's like they are so free, and I think that's
Yeah,
really beautiful, to like, for kids to be able to see, like you said, to like, don't fear death, like,
yeah,
to like, it comes for us all, but also, like, if you live a full life, unlike what they do on in some of his movies on the surface, even like Edward Scissorhands, those people are fucking miserable, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Living their lives, and I think that's something that, like, if you live a full life, then you won't fear death, and I think
right,
that's something I've always gotten out of his work too, with stuff like that, where it's like, yeah, live as much as you can, because you don't know what's gonna happen after this. Like,
right.
I believe that there's nothing after this, but who knows? We don't. No one's ever come back
Yeah,
to report back on this.
no, no.
So I think that that's a good thing to kind of instill in young people, because a lot of young people watch his stuff. Like, I know he did Wednesday, so, like, kind of people who, it's a good gateway
Yeah,
for younger kids nowadays to get into his stuff, and I just think
yeah.
that, I think it's really cool how he handles that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I will say as a child, the scariest thing to me that Tim Burton did, and this is foreshadowing to your next conversation, is in
Mhm.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure, he had a character
Yeah.
named Large Marge, and
Mm.
let me tell you, she was the scariest fucking
Mhm.
thing in my life, and I used to, like, have nightmares of her coming out of the wall next to my bed.
Yeah.
Other than that, I'm cool with everything else, but Large Marge, when
Yeah.
she picked up Pee-wee in the pickup truck in that, like, semi or whatever she was driving, and then
Mhm.
she, like, looked at him and went, "Bah!" Like that. That
I
was it.
feel
That
you.
like that yeah, Tim Burton scared the crap, but everything else, I'm on board with,
Yeah,
and
I'm with you on
yeah.
that. I forgot about Large Marge. Yeah,
Oh,
I until now, I'm just like, yeah, she was scary.
she would I hope that comes up in your next conversation because that
Yeah.
was a favorite movie, reference Pee-wee a few times. It's not, for the next one,
Oh,
but
yeah.
Large Marge, mm-mm. Sh
Not a
I used to have to
fan.
fast forward that part in the movie because I was like, I can't,
Yeah.
I love this movie, but I can't do Large Marge."
I get it. There's definitely and I think there are bits of Tim Burton that are just a little too much for me. Like, I remember seeing the original Frankenweenie, and I'm like, I just anything that harms animals, even though the dog was already dead,
Mm.
in Frankenweenie, I was just like, I don't wanna watch it get reanimated, like, I think some stuff like that where it was a little too much, so
Yeah.
but I think it's nice that he kinda toes that line a little bit because I think it teaches kids to not be scared,
Yeah,
or to, like or if you are scared to realize to address it, you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
just
And
big
when
fan
I
of
see
him.
it now, when I see Large Marge now, I'm like, "Oh, it's just claymation," like, it's just
Dude,
but I'm like
yeah.
but back then I was like, "That's
Yeah.
crazy," like, blah.
Yeah, dude. I
It's like an 8, 7, 8, 9-year-old. I was like, "No."
oh, I know. I feel you. Yeah, the claymation, and especially the way he does stuff, can really fuck with you, I feel like, with some of the stuff that and just the practical effects that he uses to it is just, like, it can be very intense. So I
Yeah.
feel you on that.
But, yeah, everything else I'm good with.
Yeah, I feel you. So are you ready to move on to the substance? To
Yeah,
your
let's
your
do it. Oh,
hell
man.
yeah.
Let's
Well,
do the
let's
substance.
let's go. So audience for some quick stats. So The Substance came out in 2024, written and directed by Corley Fargay, and starring Demi Moore, Margaret Qualley, and Dennis Quaid. And really, not that many other people are in the movie, honestly.
Yeah.
So tell me, why is this one of your favorite movies now? Like, why does it stick
Mhm.
out to you?
Yeah, definitely. So, like I've been saying, I love movies, and I love
Mhm.
seeing movies in the theater, and
Yeah.
something about me is I used to see every movie that was up for Best Picture, like, not that I give
Hmm.
that, necessarily a lot of credence, but, like, I'm
Right.
like, "I gotta see what the people are talking about," until I started having kids, and then going to the theater became a little bit of a challenge, and seeing
Yeah.
all those movies, and there's usually, what, like, 8 or 9 of them? That's a lot of movies.
Mhm.
But I used to, that was, like, my thing. I'm like, "I'm gonna go to the movies." And so now, like, I'm trying to get back to that. And so I had a weekend away with some girlfriends, and we watched Anora one night and The Substance the next night. And I was just like, hell yes. And I
Mhm.
loved them both,
Yeah.
but because like we said in towards the beginning of the podcast, um, content that's created in today's day and age is hard because there is
Mhm.
so much of it. And when something is good, man, it's really freaking good. And
Mhm.
The Substance, one of my other favorite movies growing up was, Requiem for a Dream.
Oh
And
god, yes, such a I
yeah.
love that movie.
Yeah, that could be for another conversation if you wanna
Yes.
talk about movies that, like,
For
fuck you up.
the Patreon, for my
Yeah,
Patreon, I'll have you
yeah,
back on
yeah,
for
yeah,
that.
yeah. You gotta pay to talk about that one.
Yeah, yeah.
But there was something, and I remember watching Requiem for a Dream. I did not see in the theater. It was one that I watched at home, maybe with a friend, and I was just like, and when it came out, I was in high school. I was at an age where the subject matter was, like, very, real for me. I was
Mhm.
experimenting, trying different things, like, and you're, like, watching these people go down these rabbit holes, and when I watched The Substance, there was something that, like, harkened back to Requiem for a Dream for me, and it, like, kinda just, like, awakened something in me, and there's
Yeah.
also something very now about it with, like,
Mhm.
every all these substances that we as a whole society are taking to, like, make ourselves look like Margaret Qualley
Right.
when we're getting to be like Demi Moore,
Yeah.
and Dennis Quaid is, like, the
Ugh.
gross person who's, like, I mean, he crushed it, like, the
Yeah.
restaurant scene,
Oh my with the shrimp,
I
oh my god. Yeah.
oh, yeah, I mean, like,
Oh, that's
it's
the grossest
great.
thing
It's
it's
the
the
grossest
grossest
thing ever,
part out of the
but
whole movie, that's the grossest thing, and to me.
Disgusting, disgusting,
Yeah.
disgusting, for sure. But we have all, I think, as
Yeah.
women, we've all sat across from something
Oh,
like that.
yeah.
I was like, "Oh, yeah," like,
Yeah.
100%. Like, that has happened to
Yeah.
me. Like, where, like, some dude has been like, "Blah, blah, blah," and, like, spouting off some shit
Mhm.
about whatever, and they're like, and of course, that's, like, a caricature,
Mhm.
but, like, but it is, like, that same thing where they're just like and you kinda just are like, "What the fuck are you saying, dude?"
Literally. Yeah.
And so, like, the whole thing was, like, was just so great,
Yeah.
and then the dynamic between the 2, and then the monster that comes out in the end,
Oh,
and
yeah.
and I was I don't know if this is, like, because 'cause I'm sick, I was cracking
Oh, I
up.
was too.
I
It
was,
was
like, howling, and my friend who I was watching with them, I send her, like, memes of that, like, monsters.
yeah.
Because that's, like, all we're gonna end up like that. We're gonna be doing all this, skincare and taking all these supplements and doing all this stuff to make ourselves look great, and I do it too. I get the
Yeah.
Dysport, which is, like, Botox,
Mhm.
whatever. I'm doing the stuff, but, like, I'm probably gonna have, like, teeth growing out the side of my head and, like, some,
Yeah.
you know, 'cause I don't even know, like,
Yeah.
and that's there was you're just like, "Oh, yeah, this is, like, society is making" and maybe I'm being extreme on myself, but, like, there's something, that's going on today that we're like, "Oh, we gotta try this thing or do this thing to make ourselves look whatever," when we're all gonna just end up looking like a fucking blob anyway.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, "This is fantastic," and it's a female director, and I just think she just nailed it,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Yes." I was like, "This movie is fantastic," and yeah, full
I
stop.
lo No, I love it. I remember when I saw it too. I wasn't able to see it in theaters. I know it played at the Belcourt, and hopefully they sponsor me at some point because 'cause I've mentioned them, like, every episode.
Hell yeah.
Um,
Belcourt, we love you. Thank you for
we love you.
existing. And I will say, like,
Seriously.
now, like, I shouted out to my children that I don't see as many movies, but when I see a movie, it's
Yeah.
usually trying to go to the Belcourt, so thank you,
Same.
Belcourt.
Oh, same. It's like yeah, they're the best, and, like, I remember
Mhm.
it showed at the Belcourt for, like, a couple of weeks, and then I eventually was able to watch it. I got, like, the free trial from Mubi, which is the, production studio that made it before it got on HBO, which I no, it recently got
Oh,
on HBO, so also very
okay.
timely. This episode is very timely. But I remember watching it, and I was just, like, gobsmacked. I'm like, "This is, like, it was just I just really never seen anything like it, but yet it felt very nostalgic and familiar, but future I don't know, like, how she did this,
Yeah.
the director, and fun fact, she turned down directing she got asked to direct a Marvel movie. I don't know remember which one it was, but she wanted to make the substance, so she's like, "I'm not gonna take your billions of dollars, Disney. This is a
Mhm.
passion project of mine. I have to make this movie." And I
Yeah.
think it paid off for her, honestly,
Oh,
you know?
I mean, it was yeah, and just, like, the dynamic between
Yes.
the Demi Moore character and Margaret
Yeah.
Quall, like, j and oh my goodness, and
So good.
oh, yeah, and it was like and just, like, the grossness and, like, the
Mhm.
over the top, she just all yeah, I just remember just being like, "I love this movie," and
Yeah.
just, like, the whole time I was like, "I love this movie," is all I was
Yeah.
thinking in my head, was
Oh,
like, yeah, I was like, "Why I wanna think like this," and
yeah.
yeah, I just I was yeah, I was floored, and I was like, "Thank you." I was because people are really critical of the
Mhm.
content that comes out, and I was like, "In 2024, we can still have nice things."
Agreed, and that one just really, like, I mean, that just was it's just I yeah, I think about it at least once a week, if not even more than that, because it's so relatable, and it's not even that it's, like, timeless. I think this has been just the plight of women, of non-men, basically, since the dawn of time like, "We want you to look young, we want you to this and this," and, like, and it's, and just, like and yeah, in the day and age of, like, all this, like, you get all cosmetic surgery, all these supplements, everything, it does feel like like, there is a certain uncanny valley with people who get a lot of work done, where they don't look
Yeah,
young and they don't look old, they just look different, you know what I mean?
right.
It's a 3rd category, and I feel like the
Yeah,
substance kinda taps into that a little bit too of just, like, this is, like, not maybe the most natural way to exist, but, like 'cause, yeah, nothing about that is natural either, but it's like, how do you keep youth forever? And,
mhm.
yeah, like, I just think, I think about that movie and similar because it's so in your face, so over the top, so, like, spoon feeding the audience where, like, some people could be like, "Oh, well, this is just too, on the nose," but then it's like but then, you see something like the Barbie movie that comes out that talks about, level 1 feminism very blatantly because people still don't fucking get it, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I think
yeah.
movies like this, I think just are so that aren't like super metaphoric or whatever, I think really have a good place in society because some people can be stupid. And so,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I think this movie really just nails it on the head. And I think the acting is great. I learned, it's funny. Another fun fact about this movie too is that Margaret Qualley had extensions, had fake boobs, had a bunch of like fake prosthetics for herself. So even she doesn't even look like her in that movie because and she's a gorgeous woman. They're both beautiful women,
oh,
stunning. But like she was talking about that in an interview. She's like, yeah, like that was not my actual body. That was like a lot of prosthetics, a lot of padding, a lot of stuff on the face, hair extensions. And so I'm like, wow, like even she wasn't the ideal standard, a true like young Hollywood star. Cause she's like, yeah,
yeah,
this is not, I don't look like this basically. And that's so
okay.
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that's good to know because 'cause you're, like,
Yeah.
looking at her and you're like, "How does anyone actually" but it's like, nobody looks like that,
Nobody,
actually.
and
Nobody
she
looks
kind of,
like that, and she's beautiful.
yeah,
She is a
she's
beautiful,
stunning.
yes, but it's
Yeah.
I love that you mentioned that because, in that movie, she really does I mean, like, you're, like, looking at her and you're like, "What is
What the
happening?"
fuck,
Yeah,
basically? Like,
you're like,
what is going on?
how does that" yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so it's good to know that she's obviously, I'm sure yeah, she's
Oh,
open
yeah,
about the
'cause I think
prosthetics and,
even
like, "No, nobody looks like that."
right, I think even for her, she was like, "I wish I looked like this," you know, like, she
I
kinda
wish
said
I
that
looked
in
like
the
this
interview, and
fictional character.
yeah, I wish I looked like me, but, like, not me, and so I thought that was very refreshing to hear because she coulda just been like, "No, this is all natural," because like, we wouldn't know, you know what I mean? But I appreciate that level of honesty and her also just feeling kind of, like, weird in that body, you know what I mean? Because it is, like I mean, that is she looks perfect in that movie, and I
Yeah.
think that's the
Oh,
whole very glossy and shiny, and everything is where it needs to be, and yeah, and I just think and also I do think the substance is funny, like, I think the editing of it makes it very funny, it is a horror it's like, it's a feminist horror, but also comedy, I'd say, and I think there's a lot of humor in it, you know?
yeah, yeah, and I like not I don't know, I'm one of those people, I don't always see where things are going, like, sometimes a
Yeah,
movie will take a turn and someone will be like, "Oh, yeah, I totally saw it going there."
yeah.
And maybe I'm just like, I don't catch on quickly or something, or I enjoy, like, the adventure and the surprise of not knowing what's gonna happen, but I don't think I saw, like, that, where it was gonna go with, like, the monster coming out at the end, and I was like,
Dude.
"Let's go." Like,
Yeah,
just that turn, I was like, "Okay." Like, just at every moment, I was just, like, having being entertained, and I think that's a lot of what
totally.
movies are there for, to, like, keep you on the edge of your seat in a way and, like,
Mhm.
keep you wanting more.
Yeah,
Um, so, yeah, it was just so entertaining, and yeah, it was great. Yeah, there was definitely humor. Yeah, I will never forget, like, looking at my friend and just, like, that monster comes out, and I just, like, broke out in laughter, and she was laughing because 'cause you're like, "Am I supposed to be laughing at this?" Because it's also, like,
right.
there's something, like, sad about
Dude,
it
very sad,
also,
yeah.
but it's yeah, but I'm also one of those people who tends to laugh in the
Yeah,
wrong at the wrong times, and
yeah.
I was in the comfort of an Airbnb with one of my best friends, and I was like, "I'm gonna fucking laugh, I don't care."
Dude, no, I feel you on that because I was thinking about, you've mentioned the I did laugh, but, like, I would laugh when she was, like, combing that one strand of hair, like, trying to do that. I thought that was very funny, but then, like, I watched, like, some commentaries after it, people be like, "No, this is very sad. She still cares about her vanity, this and that, and she can never be more than her looks." But I'm like, "But it's pretty fucking funny watching her comb one
And
piece of
she, like,
hair."
tapes the
And I
picture of
yeah.
herself to her.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. I
it's like, "This is
know.
great. This is so good." Oh
I
my gosh.
know. And her and, like, that nobody noticed because she had, like, the paper on her face until she gets on stage, and, like, yeah, this is clearly Margaret Qualley, obviously, like, this monster in this ripped dress with, like, a boob hanging out of her eye, you know what I mean?
Exactly, and, like, teeth on her head and, like, oh my
Yes.
god, and so it's just like yeah, and then it's like yeah, and it's like, well, you created this society, like, this
Yeah,
is like, you created this monster.
right, and, like, like,
So
I think it's so in I just think it's so interesting that it's like, respect the balance, you are one, where it's like, I never took away that they were the same person. In my mind, they were 2 different almost like a mother and daughter, like 2 different people, but, like, they're very much, "You are the same person." One takes from the other, and so I realized, like, how much self-loathing, Demi Moore's character had for herself because she if she was the one entity with the 2 bodies, she was so self-loathing of her older self that she just abused herself as a younger person. But I didn't think about that because I was like, "Oh, there's just 2 different people, but they share
Right.
one consciousness or whatever." But I don't know, what do you think about that?
Yeah, exactly, like, and I think the movie makes you, like, as a viewer, separate them, but then you have to think about it and bring them back together and remind yourself like, "Oh, wait, no, this is not 2 people, it's 1 person."
Yeah,
Because you start
yeah,
to kinda take sides a little bit or, like,
yeah,
see you're like, "Oh, shit, Demi just left this whole mess for this girl," and, like,
mhm.
like or the when she wakes up and, like, the whole place is, like, plastered with, like, the newspaper and
Oh,
it's, like,
yeah.
and Margaret Qualley's, like, pissed, but you're like,
Yeah,
that's the same and it's kind of like that self-destructiveness that we do to ourselves, right? Like,
yes.
and you really do have to remind yourself of that, so, yeah, I think yeah, it's good that you bring that because and the thing is that, like, the warning is always there, like, the message is always there,
Mhm.
but v v the character's not always listening to the message, clearly not.
Right. Right,
Um,
and yeah, and that
yeah,
foreshadowing with that other character who follows her to the diner or sees her in the diner, and it's just like, "Oh, you're getting drained too, aren't you? The younger one will always win out, and you'll become nothing, basically." And that's, like,
right.
so it's so
Yeah.
creepy, but also, like, yeah, like, it was a good way to kinda indicate where it was going.
Yeah, because like you said, there really were only like, it was like Dennis Quaid, Margaret Qualley, and Demi Moore, but then there was that younger guy,
The
the
doctor, yeah.
yeah, yeah, who was, they sort of had those, like, kinda, like, creepy, like, side characters who,
Yeah,
like, came in and you're like, "Oh, what's going on here?"
right.
And they were used very well in,
Mhm.
the writing and the directing for, bringing in another person because it is difficult when you have few characters for them to
Yeah,
carry the show or to carry the
right,
movie.
right.
So, yeah,
I
that was
I agree, and I just like, yeah, that doctor who, like, she was in that car accident because she was so distressed about, like, the billboard being taken down or whatever, and, like, he was like, "Oh, you're a good candidate for this," and it's just so, like, I don't know, it is so creepy that he's like, "Oh, you hate yourself. Well, here's a solution," and also but now her not even knowing that the older version of him is out there dying basically, and
Mhm.
it's so deceptive, and again, like, I do think it is a good commentary on, like, the beauty industry in general, where it's like, every month there's a new you must have skincare, like, it was what, the snail slug juice or whatever for a while, the slugging for a bit, and then it's like then you take all these supplements for, like, your hair and your skin, and then it's like, "Oh, you put tape on
Yep.
your mouth so you can get rid of your jowls," and shit like that, and it's just like, it's so, like it's all just, like, it's expensive and deceptive, and I just
Yeah.
think out that doctor or that nurse or whatever in that scene was so it's like, "Oh, yeah, this is the new thing, and this will help you, and watch this jump
Yep.
drive," and whatever, and it's so, just preying on people's insecurities, you know?
Yeah. And even just how she gets it, like, having to, like, crawl into that, like, place with the locker, like,
Insane.
oh, it's like, oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah. That was just it's so well done
Mhm.
because, and oh, man, and then they're like, "Okay, this is when she gets the last one." And
Mhm.
they're like,
Yes.
"Last one." And you're
Yeah.
as an audience and sitting there, I was like, "Oh, good, thank goodness she's
Yeah.
doing we need to stop this, right?"
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, it was yeah, just at every turn, I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
And even
this
at the
isn't."
even at the end too, where she's, like, about to kill Margaret Qualley, and then she's like, "Oh, no, you're so beautiful, you're so perfect." Like, she's like, she can't even let herself, like, have that free she can't even break from this thing because she's so indebted
Mhm.
to her low self-esteem with all of
Right.
that, and it's
Yeah.
just, like, even through all of it, she never she doesn't really she finally gets peace when she becomes that blob on her star, of course, but it is, like because she has no body, she has no figure, there's nothing. She just exists as, like, a entity, I guess, but
Yeah.
it is it's funny and it's scary and it's gross and all that, but it is very sad, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But AJ,
But
so
it was a
as
good one. It was a good
it's
one.
dude, it's so good, and, like, I just think it's so, like, iconic, like, the bright lights and the color and, like, even, like, the
Yes.
font, like, on the packaging and everything is just so
Yeah.
it's just so well done. It feels so, like, well thought out, and the fact that it was,
Yes.
like, an independent movie and, this director really wasn't that well known beforehand, it just and then the fact that it, like, got Demi Moore back into the zeitgeist of, like,
Yeah.
she got nominated for an Oscar. I think she should have won personally, but I love Honora, I love
Yeah,
Mikey Madison, but she has a very
right.
long career ahead of her too, you know
Yeah,
what I
and I
mean?
also loved
So
Anora. I did, and watching them back to
oh, I
back
loved it
was like
too.
I was like,
Mhm.
"This is great, like, let's keep them
Yeah.
going." Like, um
Honestly,
yeah, yeah, there was
yeah,
Anora was
there
also fabulous, but there was something
I
about
love
The
it, yeah.
Substance that I was like,
Mhm.
this is good."
Yeah,
Yeah,
like, I think both are kind of in their own fantasy world in their own way because Honora like a Cinderella story, you know what I mean?
it's a
Like,
little
or like her
Shakespearean.
yeah, and so it is very fantastical, and obviously the substance is a alternate universe that doesn't even exist in our timeline. And so, but I think, and I love both of those movies so much. I love everything Sean Baker's made. I think that he really does highlight a lot of like counterculture and like other communities that don't get a lot of viewing. So I'm glad that he won. I think he's made a lot of really great films. But man, the substance. I probably was a little too out there for the Academy, like to win Best Picture, but I would have been happy if it won Best Picture. You know.
Yeah. It yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Did Anora win Best Picture? I should know this, but I'm not. Did
Mhm,
an
yeah, no, Nora won Best
I know
Picture, Best
Mikey
Director, Best
oh,
Editing.
I
Mikey
know
won, yeah.
I know
It won
Mikey won for
everything.
Best Actress. Oh, it won Best Picture too. Okay.
It won, like,
Interesting.
it won all the above the line major awards. I know,
Wow.
I think Substance won Best Makeup, which, of course, it should have won Best Makeup, but yeah, Nora
Right.
swept the whole awards.
Wow.
And I personally, as a side note, find that kind of interesting because I loved Nora, but I do think Sean Baker's best movie was The Florida Project, and that should have gotten the
Oh,
praise that Nora got, even though all of his movies are incredibly well
yeah.
done.
I feel like but I also feel like Flora Project was, like, ahead of its time.
For sure, had that,
Like,
even Tangerine being shot
Tangerine.
on an iPhone. God,
Yeah.
love that
Yeah, yeah,
movie.
yeah. Yeah.
About 2 trans people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not gonna that and it came out in, like, 2005. People weren't gonna be that
Yeah.
receptive to it at the time, so
Yeah.
but I think everything yeah, I hope to see I know Coralie is a newer director, like, a younger dir so I hope to see her
Mhm.
make more I don't know
Similar.
what she has on the docket next, but, like, I can't wait to see what she's gonna do, and obviously, I
Yeah.
love Margaret Qualley and Demi Moore, and I can't wait to see what they both have done stuff post The Substance, quite a
Yeah.
few things, and it's just really cool, and another fun fact is that Margaret Qualley, I think she's been in Demi Moore's or they've been in each other's orbit for a minute because Margaret Qualley is friends with, Demi and Bruce Willis's daughters, and so
Oh,
they already had, like, a
sure.
relationship before which makes sense because it's like,
Yeah.
oh, like, you're around the age of her own kids, so that works with the dynamic. I thought that was very, very sweet to learn
Yeah.
that.
We all hang out. I actually just learned that because Margaret Qualley is her mom is Andy
Addie
Mc An Andy
McDowell,
McDowell.
yeah,
Yeah. And they all live in and she lives in Charleston or, like, has a house there or whatever,
right.
and Bill Murray lives in Charleston, and they
Yeah,
did, Groundhog Day together, and I heard they
yeah,
hated each other on set, but Margaret was like, "Well, you're living in Charleston, Bill's living in Charleston, you guys are both single, you should get together," and I guess they're, like,
right.
maybe, like, low-key
Oh,
seeing each other, who knows, but I think
I
it's great.
love
I love
it.
Bill Murray, so, and I love
I do
Groundhog's
too.
Day.
Me too. I and
It's a good
they
one.
had some real chemistry. They had some chemistry in that movie. And then to hear that they hated each other, it's like, oh, that's where that like
Yeah, yeah,
sparkiness was
yeah.
coming from.
That little, like, yeah, it was very, like,
Yeah, they were just kind of picking
staccato.
at each other.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think, but yeah, I mean, as someone who is trying to write film and TV, like understanding chemistry is like something that I just am so fascinated by. Like, 'cause it's like
Oh,
you
yeah.
can write it into something, but like it really is like the two people, and it's like what makes two people just click versus not. Anyway, I find it all very
Yeah,
fascinating.
for sure.
But so we're about at time, so I don't want to keep you too long. So I have a couple of more questions for you. And this one, I think that we can find some correlation. So what are the correlations you see between Beetlejuice and The Substance, if any?
Yeah, I mean, I think they both, like, obviously go into these fantasy worlds, so it's not
Mhm.
they both don't take place on, like, in of this earth, right? They have
Right.
these fantasy characters in them, and I think there's something in me that I really like things that are a little bit out there.
Mhm.
Just yeah, given, like, my love for Tim Burton, anything, um, and yeah, I think I love when movies take this twist and, like, throw a monster in there where, like, there
Yeah,
is because
yes.
like, you're watching The Substance and yes, like, weird things are happening between the Demi Moore and the Margaret Qualley character, but then they throw, like, a monster in there, and you're like, "Oh, hell yeah, let's go." Like, let's go with like, let's go down that path. Um, so, yeah, so that I think that's one correlation. Um, I'm trying to think if there's any other. I mean, hmm,
I know this is always like
yeah,
I love asking this question because
yeah,
it is just like
of course.
I think things can influence each other and
Yeah.
yeah, those first impressionable things. For
I mean,
me,
there
I
is,
think
like oh, yeah, I was gonna say there is, like, a young and old dynamic, right? Like, you have, like,
yes.
the child of Lydia, and then you've got, like, the
Mhm.
parents, right? And you have 2 different types of
Mhm.
parents, right? I guess, like,
Right.
the Maitlands are not parents yet, and they
Right.
sort of, talk about it a little bit, and they do love Lydia, like, they have this connection with Lydia that, obviously, Delia Deetz is her stepmom, and she's got her
Right.
dad, who's like a doofus, and we all know where he goes.
Right.
Principal Rooney, um,
Yeah.
gotta love him.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, he's canceled. But, but, and so but there's this, like, dynamic of, like, old and young that I
Mhm.
think is also, like, important to, point out
Yeah.
in both
I
movies.
I yeah, there is a good dynamic of that too, and I think, in both movies, the correlation that I see is that they're both deeply sad and deeply lonely, like, I think both you think about Lydia and you think about, like, on Demi Moore's character, I don't remember
Yeah.
her name in
What it
Substance. But yes, I think of Demi Moore I
Oh,
don't remember, it's like,
it's like
Elizabeth
Susan.
Sparkle. Yeah, it's
Right.
Elizabeth and then,
And
Margaret is Sue. Yeah.
Sue, right, yes.
Yeah, so Elizabeth and Lydia both are, like, deeply lonely, they don't really have any friends, and then they kinda, like they play around with fate a little bit to try and see what they can get out of it, and which is where you get Beetlejuice, you get Margaret Qualley, and they kinda fuck with, like, the unnatural things that aren't supposed to be touched a little bit because of their trying and quell their unhappiness, and I find that very and then they both, like Beetlejuice, like, the happier ending than the substance but no, they both end up content and happy, like, I think they go through all that shit to come on the other end and be like, "You know what? No, this is pretty good. I'm actually pretty happy. I like my setup." And I think that's kind of the one takeaway I take from that too, and also, yeah, just, like, they're on Earth, but they're not on this Earth, you know what I mean? It's a different type of there's a different set of rules for each universe, and I think that's really, really cool, and just also, like, very, like both are just very colorful, very, like,
Yes.
bright, and I think that's really fun too and very appealing, just on the and another thing I noticed too is that, like I said earlier about Beetlejuice, I would agree that the substance, not a scene or actor is wasted, every line is intentional. There's not a lot of dialogue in The Substance, and I
Yeah.
think that's and Beetlejuice, like, they're both kind of like they both are clocking at, like, a pretty good time frame or time frame for each movie. They're not super long. They get the and they don't yeah, there's nothing wasted. Nothing feels like they don't feel like they didn't leave
Right.
anything to like, "Oh, like, maybe we'll leave this in here," and I just think that's such tight editing. Again, like Coralie being a newer director, I wonder if we're kind of seeing a little bit of like what we saw with Tim Burton and like other directors that are like, I have so much to prove. I'm on the scene, but I want then this is like kind of like her Beetlejuice a little bit, and I
Yeah.
think I felt that like you feel that like frenetic energy, I think, with people who like they have so much to prove and they have so much to put
Yeah.
out there like, as an artist. And I feel that in both of these movies.
Yeah. And the first watch is super entertaining, but you definitely
Yes.
wanna watch it again because 'cause you're like, there are
You're
for sure
missing
things
stuff.
that I didn't mi I yeah, there's something I missed or I didn't pick up
Yeah.
on or I'm gonna yeah, I'm yeah, you wanna watch it again, and you wanna watch it, like, again and again.
Yes, exactly, because again, both of those I think are gonna age incredibly well, you know what I mean? Beetlejuice has aged
Yeah.
incredibly well, and I
Yeah.
think I think The Substance will be one of those ones that will be remembered for a very long time.
Absolutely.
So here I have 2 more rapid fire questions for you, and rapid fire, I mean, you can answer them as fast or as slow as you want. So, for both movies, if you had to recast both movies with all Muppets, but keep 1 human in each movie, who would the human being be, and who are some of the Muppets you'd probably have in both movies?
I mean, we're recasting Muppets in Tim Burton movies?
I know, right?
Okay. Um, I mean, like, Michael Keaton gets to stay as Beetlejuice,
Oh,
who's, like,
yes.
obviously, like,
Mhm.
um, okay, 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 okay. I guess maybe I oh, man.
I know, this is a loaded question.
Mm, ugh, oh, I guess this is gonna be lame, like, I don't know, maybe I'd recast the dad as Fozzie Bear?
Yes,
Is that
yeah,
allowed? He's
I
like,
think
well,
so,
the
kinda
dad's kinda
goofy.
lame, he's kinda goofy, he's like, making phone calls. I'm thinking about, like, Muppets Take Manhattan. I don't
Yes,
know. Boffo Lenny, Socko Lenny, that was Kermit, but,
right,
but I mean, like, I've a little, like, kinda like the dorky, dopey Fozzie Bear. I mean, I love Fozzie Bear,
yeah,
but,
I do
um
too.
but the dad's the dad, and he's a little, like, aloof and, like, out of it, and
Yeah,
he's like, let's, what is Maxie Dean, get Maxie Dean on the
yeah,
phone. Like,
yeah,
that's like his focus is Maxie Dean. Maxie Dean is coming.
yeah,
It's, um, so, yeah, I think I'd probably recast him.
mhm.
Um,
I would say
yeah.
Catherine O'Hara should be Miss Piggy.
Yeah, sure,
There's
sure. I mean,
very, like, oh, just so much
yeah,
going on. Yeah.
yeah, Miss Piggy, I mean, she's so versatile. Miss Piggy is
She could
like
play anyone, honestly, like, she
she
could also be
really
Gina Davis, she could be Lydia, she could be
right,
anyone, you know?
right. Yeah, I guess Kermit could be the Alec Baldwin character potentially,
Yeah, very
you
because,
know?
something I didn't mention during us talking about Beetlejuice earlier was that I it's so interesting that the straight man characters are, like, also, like, the ghosts, they're, like, the monsters, you know what I mean? Because they're so good in those roles, but they're like the, "What is going on? Isn't this crazy?" It's like, "You're the ghost of this house, like, you should." Where they flip it and the humans are, like, the, really eccentric, like, side characters, you know what I mean? I
Right.
just thought that was very interesting.
Yes. And then I guess in the substance, I mean, what's her name? The she's in the band. Oh my gosh. That band with, like, the drummer. Oh my god, I'm forgetting their names. Animals, is Animal the drummer? But
Oh,
then
yeah,
there's, like, those
yeah.
cool guys. And there's a female, I believe, and I could
Yes,
see her
yeah, she
being
has, like, the hair, yeah.
because,
Mhm.
like, we can't always put Miss Piggy in for the females, but
No,
there aren't a
yeah,
lot of female Muppets.
there aren't.
I mean, I don't know, would Gonzo be Dennis Quaid,
I guess so,
potentially?
or
Like,
yeah, I could see Gonzo. I'm just thinking, like, who's really, like, gross in, like, the Muppets or, like, Sesame Street?
yeah.
I'm like, they're all kinda wholesome, you know?
Yeah, I know that I love them all too much. I'm like, "No, not
I
you, not
know,
you." Like,
I know, they don't
um,
deserve that, yeah.
I love the prawn, that's, like, a newer Muppet. The prawn,
Yes.
there's a prawn. Oh, man, he's great.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
So
yeah.
what human do you think you'd keep in the substance?
Um, I I I mean, the women are great. We
I
don't recast
know.
women. I
No,
just
I
don't
know.
think, they nailed it.
Yeah,
Like,
so I think in an exception, you'd keep both lead women because they're the same person, and everyone else around them, including all the crew, all the backup dancers, they're all Muppets.
yeah, 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 fine. We can just, yeah, exactly. All
Yeah,
those backup dancers, they can be Muppets.
yeah. Dennis
Yeah,
Quaid's a Muppet of some sort.
yeah, Dennis Quaid for sure.
The studio guys, like the nurse, the old guy.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking like, "You gotta pump it up." Like, you're like the Muppet.
So, yeah, for sure, like, that's, like, yeah, yeah, that's Muppetified for sure,
It's
and you
so
could
just
totally
yeah.
see, like, when you see, like, the Muppets dancing with, like, like, a famous, like, musician or something.
Right.
It works.
They're kinda
Yes.
just doing this around yeah, they're
Yes.
flopping around. Yeah, that would be cute. Yeah.
Yes, 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 that works 100%. The backup dancers for
Oh
sure are
my god,
Muppets.
and just
Yeah.
thinking about the New Year's Eve show and, like, and having the 2 old men in the audience being like,
Oh, yeah.
"Oh,"
Yeah,
seeing the
yeah, yeah.
monster come out, wouldn't
Oh,
that be
yeah,
so funny?
Waldorf and
Yes,
Statler just, like,
and see
tearing it up, being like,
ju
"Ah, ah."
like, "Oh, it's a
Yeah.
oh my god, she has 4 eyes, it's crazy. Well, you have 4 eyes, you wear glasses," and, like, what stuff like that, so
Yes, yes, just like, oh, yeah, critics. Oh, man.
yes, that
Yeah,
would be
get them out.
that
Yes.
we got that I ask this question every episode, and there's so many movies, I'm like, "Why don't they remake it why don't they remake these movies with Muppets?" You know what I
I
mean?
mean, the Muppets are
I
huge
love
Muppet
them.
fan, huge
Same.
Muppet fan, and they're also, like, they're still making I feel like during the pandemic, we, like, found more recently made Muppet episodes, and they were
Oh,
great, but,
yeah.
like, the
They're so
Muppet
good.
movie, the Muppets Take
Mhm.
Manhattan, like, those are
Yeah.
great.
They
Great
hold up,
movies.
and all the ones that, like, I think Jason Segel worked on quite a few the newer ones too, and,
Oh,
like, I just remember there
yeah.
was one, and there was, like, a play on Silence of the Lambs, and Tina Fey was Jodie Foster's character, and she was walking down, like, the prison and all that. I remember that being,
Huh.
like, a parody from one of the Muppet movies that Jason Segel worked on.
I
So
think I
they're
missed
good.
that one.
That one probably came out, like, I wanna say, like, maybe, like, 2016 or something like
Okay.
that, and then, yeah, they did some new Muppet episodes for Disney Plus. I know
Yes.
like, did another run of the Muppets in the past year or so, which I
Yeah,
still
where
never
they
go
were
away.
yeah, they were, like, working on a TV show or something. They were,
Yes,
like,
like
in
a
a
s yeah,
studio.
it's very,
Mhm.
Larry Sanders, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is fun. And then my last question before I let you go is that what is your go-to snack and drink for movies?
Oh, I
Theater,
was
at
real
home, anything?
yeah. I was very excited to talk to you about this because I
Yeah.
have yeah. So, when I was living in Chicago, which is, like, really I was by myself a lot, and that's when I would a lot of the times, like, I would go to the movies
Mhm.
alone, which I totally am cool with doing. I love being by myself even though I'm around a
Same.
lot of people these days. Um,
Well,
ah
you did make some of them,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah, 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 but it's by choice, it's by choice,
yeah.
like, no one's forced me, I'm not I'm not being held hostage here. Don't
Yeah.
worry, this is not a even though I'm in a closet, it's not a hostage situation.
Yeah.
Don't worry, don't send help, it's fine.
Right.
Um, but I love going to the movies by myself or with other people, as long some people are like, "I don't know about movies, I can't sit for that
Yeah.
long," and I'm like, "You're not my people." But, I love going to the movies, and I think eating at a movie is very important. I know Courtney's like, "I don't eat in movies." Okay, I eat in movies.
I know I
I'm an
don't,
eater.
yeah.
I am such an eater in movies.
Yeah.
I used to go there was this place in Chicago. I don't know if anyone out there is a Chicago person, you would know this, like, mall and movie theater that was, like, at Clark and Diversey.
Mhm.
It was called there was a food court in the this mall had, like, 2 stores in it. It had, like, a place where you get your eyebrows threaded randomly
Mhm.
and, like, an Express and a Bath& and Body Works, but nothing else was in this mall, and then in the basement and basement is like it wasn't a scary basement, it was just on the bottom floor. There was, like, a cafeteria style food
Mhm.
court, and you
Yeah.
could get food, and so I would go in there, and I'd always have a big bag, and I'd get, like, sushi to go, and then I'd
Yes.
go into the movie, and I'd eat my sushi, and I remember I think I was watching, the Jesse Eisenberg, the what's the Facebook movie called?
Social Network.
The Social Network, I was going to see that
Yeah.
movie, it was a very crowded theater, and I remember the guy next to me was like, "That doesn't look like popcorn," and I was like, "Mind your business,
Yeah,
friend."
focus on yourself.
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna enjoy my dinner and a show, and
Yeah.
you're gonna, like, stay in your lane." But anyway, I
Yeah.
love eating in a movie, I love, like, bringing a meal to a movie, and I think movie theaters, especially like, not the Belcourt, not you, Belcourt, I'm not talking about you, but the rest of them,
Yeah.
I think they're fine. It's okay if I bring my food into a
I
movie.
agree.
Nowadays, we live across the street from a bodega. I don't
Mm.
like paying for candy. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna pay $10 for a bag of M&Ms.
Girl.
So,
Yeah.
we go across the street, we get our cheap there is still cheap candy out there. I know inflation's a bitch, and I know it's happening, but you can still get decent priced candy at the bodega. We pick out our candy. I will buy popcorn at the movie theater. I will buy
Mhm.
drinks at the movie theater, but we do snack up. I like some Raisinets. I like some
Mm.
peanut M&Ms, maybe some gummy bears, the Haribo kind,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
like popcorn, no butter. I can't do that
Okay.
butterless I don't know what that's made from.
Yeah, that's
Um,
fair.
yeah, I'm not sure what's in that, but and then it gets all weird and greasy, but I'm a
Yeah.
popcorn girl,
Yeah.
and, I sometimes I bring in my own water, my own bottle of water,
Mhm.
good for the environment, but
Yeah.
I do love to snack and drink during movie. I think it's just like Twizzlers, Red
Mm.
Vines, if you're a West
Yes.
Coaster.
Yeah.
I really I love, like, the entertainment, I love the whole thing,
Yeah.
um yeah, I love going to the movies, and it will never end.
Yeah.
And I know I think you and Drew were like, "Do people even still go to the movies?" They do. My son, he goes to the movies. He goes to make out with girlfriends, but he goes to the
Oh.
movies. Um,
You're just putting
so,
your son on blast on here.
you know, honestly, good for him
Hey,
because,
I wasn't doing that at 13, my god, you
listen,
know?
you Lion King 58 came out,
Mhm.
Moana 25, they're seeing the movies.
Yeah.
Thank you, Disney. People are going to the movies. I'm still going to the movies.
Yeah.
Keep making movies, Hollywood.
I
Keep it up.
agree.
Try to make good ones.
Please,
I
for the
do
love of
and
God.
yeah, yeah. Sometimes, like, I do end up seeing, like, Trolls 85 and I wanna, like, kill myself.
Yeah.
Some every like, we saw Flow. Flow was
So
beautiful.
good.
Like,
Beautiful
so
movie,
every once in a
yeah.
while, there's something that all my kids and my husband, we can all enjoy, and that's really
Yeah.
when we can, when we enjoy it, but I'm a
Yeah.
very pro food in the movies.
Oh, I love that. I think for me, I just like I chew and I don't like I want to hear the dialogue and I don't
No.
if I'm eating, I need subtitles so I can like hear and
Uh-oh.
see and everything. But yeah, so I think I just like maybe I just like my ears are plugged clogged. I don't know, but
That's okay. That's okay. I'm not judging. You have to everyone should
yeah.
do what they're comfortable with. But
Yeah.
I think movies are a part of the fabric of our culture, and I think people should
Yeah.
go to them. Even, like, we travel a lot as a family, and we go to movies when we travel. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
we were in Bar Harbor, Maine this summer, and we went out for dinner, and then afterwards, there was this old theater, beautiful theater that was playing The Sandlot. You best
Oh,
believe we all went and saw The Sandlot in the old theater in Bar
yeah.
Harbor, Maine. Hell fucking yeah.
I
Oh,
love it.
and in Chicago, there's a theater on Southport Avenue. I don't know if it's still there. Called the Music Box Theater, and no matter what movie you're seeing, they play organ before
Oh,
and after. Can you imagine sitting down to
that's
any
cool.
movie and they're playing the organ in
That's
this day
cool.
and age? Come
Yeah.
on. Like,
I
you
love
gotta go to the
that.
movies, guys. You gotta go to the movies. It's
You
great.
gotta get out there. It's such a gift, and it's such a beautiful thing that we have as, like, human beings that we get to enjoy. I
Yeah.
agree with you. I try to get out there when I can. It's a little bit harder these days to make it out to the movies unless I'm, like, doing something or whatever, but, yeah. But, so AJ, thank you for being on the show. Before I let you go, can you tell people where to find you and, like, what you got coming up? This is gonna be coming out a little bit later on, so, what are you looking forward to? Where can people find you? Just let the people know what's
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Courtney, for having me. I really
Yeah.
looked forward to this. This is so much fun. I clearly could go on for a long time.
Yeah, oh, same.
Yeah. So thank you. So you can find me on Instagram. That's my main place, given my age. Sorry, I am not on TikTok or LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn if you want to connect professionally. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't find me on LinkedIn. That place is terrible it's a terrible place. I don't talk about my career. I consider myself a very successful career woman. I have a master's
Yeah,
degree, but, like, don't find me there.
yeah.
Um, don't find me
That's
there. No,
funny.
find me on Instagram. Follow me at Ha Ha AJ Jacobs.
Mm.
I've got a couple shows coming up in November. One that the very talented Cortney Warner is producing at the brand new Urban Cowboy in
Oh,
the arcade downtown. Cannot
yes.
wait. It's on a Sunday night. Sunday fun day, people.
Yeah.
Get out, have fun. I think it's November 9th, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken,
Mhm.
because I have a calendar running in my head at all times.
Yes.
And then on November 12th, I'm doing a show with Comedian Discovery in
Mm.
Columbia, Tennessee. Love
Nice.
Columbia. Happy to be there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and, I'm all over Nashville for the most part. So, just follow me on socials. I'm gonna be putting out, all my shows coming up. I think I'm gonna do the Nashville Hot Show in December coming
Mm.
up. I was supposed to do the one in November, but gotta go to a figure skating show, so
Oh, well, yes.
can't do sometimes you gotta prioritize. So
Yeah. Well, hell yeah. Well, AJ, again, thank you for doing the show. I really appreciate it. I hope you had fun. I had so much fun talking with you.
yeah,
Yeah. We could I this if I didn't have to edit this, we could talk for like 3 hours about this stuff.
totally.
But yeah, this is an audience. Thank you for listening. This has been the Halloween episode of Core Memory, a podcast about movies. I'm your host, Courtney Warner, and this is AJ Jacobs. You can say goodbye and what you'd like to do. Oh, yeah, sorry, this is very awkward, but like
I was gonna say happy Halloween, audience.
happy Halloween, guys. Get spooky. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week. This has been Core Memory, a podcast about movies, and I'm your host, Cortney Warner. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Please feel free to like and subscribe on anywhere that you get your podcasts. Would absolutely love the support on there. If you enjoyed today's episode and any of our other episodes, also we are on Instagram at Core Memory Pod. Please feel free to give us a follow on there as well if you want any behind the scenes tidbits or any kind of fun visuals on there. And again, thank you for listening, and we hope that you'll listen again soon.